Hey guys, this is Eric Weingartner with Weingartner Racing. It's Saturday, so it's an update video day, but man, do you have a treat today because some exciting stuff happened in the shop this week for sure, as you can probably tell from the clip that just happened. But anyway, let's talk about that, but there's way more than just that. It's cool this week. I dynoed this week, which is amazing. If you're new to the channel, you're like, what is this? It's got a root supercharger, obviously. Well, what could this possibly be? Well, this is the future engine for the Camaro, but I don't see it going in anytime soon because there's some things which we'll talk about here in a minute. But what is this? It is a big block Chevy, but it's a little bit different. It's got a 4.530 bore, 375 stroke. So if you were to go back in time to 2014 when I did Engine Masters at competition, this was the initial block that was used for, and the crank actually. So this has the Callie's Dragon Slayer crankshaft. They no longer even make that crankshaft. It had a big block mains, but it had small block Chevy rod journals, so they're smaller. It was great for that, but decided, you know, hey, let's turn this into this, something to go faster for the Camaro to put a blower on. And I actually wanted this size and that stroke anyway because I wanted to be able to control the torque better. So obviously with the big old blower on top, torque management is somewhat of an issue on a car. So having less stroke there should be fine. If I want to make more torque, I'll just put more boost, right? So anyway, that's what makes it different about it. It's a bigger bore, really short stroke. Same stroke, by the way, being a 400 small block Chevy. Anyway, it has, again, the Callie's Dragon Slayer crankshaft. Mulliner makes these rods, and because they have a small block Chevy pin, which is 2.1, big block's 2.2. But the top where the wrist pin goes into, it's still, I want to say I think that's actually big block diameter on that one. So it's got the big block pin diameter now, but it has a set of Race Tech pistons, and they make some tough pistons because this engine has been blown up before when we first tried dynoing it. So, and the pistons had no signs of wear, so they could take the heat, but it blew out the head here, and it completely torched it. You can go back and watch a previous video on that, which now I kind of have an idea why that might have happened. But anyway, those same pistons were used. The rings were reused too. Even the bearings, because the bearings look great too. It is a Dart Big M block, but it's only a Sportsman, so it's got steel. It's got their cast caps. It's not billet steel caps. It does have main studs though. Anyway, as far as cylinder heads wise, from last time to now, that did change, and that makes a bigger difference when you see the power. So before, which they're still for sale, I'll go walk over to them. These are the heads that I ran before. These are the AFR 305 heads that I ported, and they're available. You can buy these assembled. Now, they'll be just like they are. They're freshened up, but I sell them for $3,000. In all fairness, they need cleaned. That's why you can see that. See that in there? That's because when we lost the water. But that's the heads that were used. They float about 412. They can only go on a 4.5 bore or bigger because they have a 2350 intake valve. But anyway, I decided, you know what, I'm going to use this. And the reason why I wanted to use this is because the 385 heads is just because of the time I thought it would save me. But the different thing is these are now O-ringed. So Mike Henson at Henson Racing Engine, he O-ringed the block and the heads. As far as the port work on the heads, I did redo the intake valve job. I went from a 45 seat to a 50-degree valve job on the intake. It has a titanium intake valve. On the exhaust, I fully ported that. So they're much larger than they are from the factory. So it does flow more on the intake side, a lot more on the exhaust side. But here's the thing. Those 305 heads that I'd ported that came off, they had 117 cc chambers. These had 119, but I also softened the chambers. So I ended up at 125 cc chambers. What ended up happening is I went from 11.5 compression ratio to right now it's 10.79. So you might as well round it to 10.8. So lost compression, but I wanted to give myself a bigger tuning window because I didn't want to torch it again. The camshaft did change too. I'm not going to go over the specs just because I honestly forgot. I'm not going to put it for this video anyway. But this is a cam motion cam. I will sell the old camshaft. It's not cam motion, it's Urson. The Urson one did fine, by the way. I'm going to have it on my online store, link in the description. Same with those heads. It gives you a link to my online store. You can buy the heads or the used camshaft. I'm probably going to let this camshaft go for $175, the one that came out of it. The one that I got in there now, I had Bobby from Cam Motion do this one. It's got more exhaust duration, almost the same intake duration, and a wider lobe separation. A little bit less lift too. But with the titanium valves and that camshaft, I could spin it way, way, way more. Blower, because that's where we're at now. This is a blower shop, and I got this years ago. Blower shop 1071 high helix, and it's actually made for gas, because when they put them for methanol, they actually put the clearances tighter because the blower doesn't get as hot. But this is actually a gas blower, so I could run gas on it, but I run methanol. So these on top, these are huge carburetors, by the way. They're like 1100 CFM 4150 Lightning Racing carburetors, methanol, and that's what I was ran. So that's exactly how it ran. The only issue really that came up with this, and I need to figure out a better way on this or what's going on. I spent a ton of money for this ATI crank balancer, because if you notice, it's got the crank trigger built in. It doesn't work. So, and I think it was making contact before, and it doesn't look like it's lining up exactly on this. So I don't know if the crank trigger itself, that sensor has gone bad, but it idles fine. Once you start trying to put a load on it, it starts popping and banging real bad. So luckily, this distributor at the back, which I'll kind of show you, it is a crab cap and it just barely clears. But luckily for us, it has a pickup in it. So that's what we ran it off of. I'd like to have run it off the crank trigger. But anyway, all that 6 minutes worth of stuff said, just so I didn't, better talk about this too. This does have Crowler shaft rockers on it. They're steel. And they have a DLC bushing on the tip. But that's it. So I mentioned that too. I think the rocker ratio, I kept it 1717 because I didn't want to go aggressive. It's got a blower. There's no sense in that. But anyway, enough of that. We'll power to make and stuff like that, right? Well, let's look. Backfire the supercharger. Here's where it stopped, the last pull that we did. And I want to explain, and I'll tell a lot more about this in a minute, but this has way, 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 way more in it. We stopped to prevent it from getting hurt, because now I think I know what happened on the first time. Anyway, if you look at it, it's 1,216 horsepower, and it did it at 7,000 RPM, 957 foot-pounds of torque. But if you notice, it's climbing, and it would keep climbing. So if we went higher, it would just make more, which we didn't. So if you want to look at the raw numbers, we'll just do that, right? This makes things easier to see. 1,216 at 7,000 RPM. Look at the fuel flow. That's a lot of fuel going through that thing. And this is where we have a problem, which we'll get to in a minute. But this setup that you see right here is, so that 1,216, how much pounds of boost? Because that's the question people are going to ask. That's it. Starts off at 9.9 at 5,700, and it ends at 9 at 7,000. So, and the way it's ran is exactly how it is here, which last time we blew it up partly because we put the wrong pulley setup on it. So I'll try to explain. It's overdriven, so this is the exact way it came off that made 1216. 56 tooth at the top, that's a 51 at the bottom. When we first started, we put a 43, I think, or 44 on the bottom, and this has never changed, 56. The last time when we blew it up, in case you're wondering what happened, the 56 was on the bottom, and this is it. Yeah, 45 was on the top. So when we blew it up last time, this was here, and that was there. So a lot more boost. We didn't even get to that far. But anyway, that's 56, 51. When this is on the bottom, which is what we did initially, it makes 6 pounds of boost, and I'll show you that power. This is the power it made at 6 pounds of boost, 1197, and it did at 7,500 RPM. And as you can tell, it's still climbing, which I'll show you by the graph. So I was like, man, I put on, the smaller pulley, it made 3 more pounds of boost, and I only made 20 more horsepower. And Gary's like, you're looking at this completely wrong. Let me show you this way. So he pulls up the graph. This is it. This is the 6 pounds of boost. That red one's the 9 pounds of boost. So 1216, and there is your other one. But look at the difference. This is at 7,000. So at 7,000 from here to here, which I had to look. So at 7,000 with the 6 pounds, we made 1120. At 7,000 with the 9 pounds, we made 1216. It's almost 100. So it's up almost 100. All right, so huge. But why did we stop? Because I watch the air fuel ratio like a hawk. So it has a little gauge. It's up there at the side, and it reads off an O2 sensor. And I'm not going to lie, it's been rich. Like, it's just running rich, which I'm like, I'd rather be rich. We'll add timing and it'll start leaning it out. So, because honestly, we played a little bit with the timing. I think we started with like 26 or 24, and then we stopped at 27. But we could have kept going. But every time news flash for you, every time you advance your timing, typically you lean the mixture up. So yeah, it was way, way rich. So it was on a gasoline scale, so you need to understand this first. But I'm seeing when he's starting the pull, it's at 8.9, not 9, 8.9. And as he's running through it, it's starting to get almost 10. On a gasoline scale, I really would like to have seen it like 11.5. Now, if you're like, no, I thought methanol had to be 5.5 and 6.0. That's a methanol scale. We don't have that. Okay? But anyway, when I'm watching him do this run right here with the 6 pounds of boost, it's like 8.9, 9, 9.5, 9.8, 9.7, and then right about here, it starts going 10.5, 11.0, 12.0. And I was like, why is it leaning up right there at the end, which granted, it's getting almost perfect at the end, but I was like, that's strange. And he goes, maybe it's just me backing off then. I was like, well, wouldn't it have gone the other way? But whatever. So I was like, maybe it's just a fluke. And I've seen this each time, but it's only like the last split second. So we switched the pulleys on, and we put on the 9 pound. And again, same thing. We're rolling in. You got, like I said, 8.9. Starts going, it's 9, 9, 9. And I'm right about here, and you could tell why the graph does this, because that's one of the things that give it away. I'm watching, very at the end, it goes 9, 10, 5, 11, 0, 11, 12, 0, 12, 5. And that's when it stopped at 12, 5. And I was like, what? I mean, it was just going all the way. It's going to fixing to hit 13. And when we look at the graph here, you're like, well, it's pretty much tracking with this until right there. Then it starts taking off. The reason why is because it's so rich here, it's not properly tuned, but then it's leaning itself up, and it's making more power because it's getting leaner to here. And that's why it's jumping. It's not because, it just really likes boost, which it probably does, but not like that. It's because the air-fuel ratio is now getting correct because it's going leaner. The question is, why is it going leaner? Because that's scaring me. So then we look further at the graphs here, just a little look. This is the 6 pounds of boost. 686 pounds of fuel. We look over here at the 9 pounds of boost, 783. It's making more power. It's only moving the same amount of fuel. And this is where we stopped because we found it. He has 2 fuel pressure gauges, and we just happened to look because both of us recorded it. The fuel pressure is at 6.5 when you start. And it's staying there right till when it starts going lean. You literally see the fuel pressure drop to like 2 or 3 in this range. So it goes 6.5, 3. Like you could just see the needle just, it ran out of fuel pump. Flat out ran out of fuel pump. Had no idea and didn't think to cross my mind on this stuff because the pump it has is the same one I have in my S10 here, so I can kind of show you. The run he runs on the dyno is that one. This is the MagnaFuel ProStar 500. So if you get this, they rate it to 2,500 horsepower for gas. Methanol, they reduce it, and he says because of the whole blower thing, really that's only rated to 1,100 horsepower. That's the most fuel it will move on methanol. So we were at the limits of that fuel pump. It will not move anymore. So yeah, we could have switched pulleys. All we would have done was just blow it up. Because right after that, I was like, let me look and see if this was happening last time. Because last time it happened so fast. It was within half a second when you can watch the videos and see. It was super fast. Sure enough, right when he's rolling in the throttle, you see the fuel pressure just drop off because it was at 22 pounds. And then it wasn't long after pop, that was it. It was nothing else, I think, besides it just flat out did not have enough fuel, and then it just started eating itself. So that's why we stopped. Is there more in it? Yeah, absolutely. By the way, I pulled all the spark plugs. They all look fine. There's no damage. Everything's looking good. Luckily, we caught it here. because when it blew up, that problem here was happening when it was at peak torque, which is doubly problem. But everything's fine. The spark plugs look good because, trust me, I'm studying it like a hawk. Everything's looking fine. Everything looks good. But I will say, if you ever get this blower, though, the cylinder you should check is number, back there, it's number 8. Because the air is forcing down this way. That one is the problem one. So 8, because of all the spark plugs, that one actually looked like it had the least amount of fuel. The inner ones, these two and these two over here, actually looked rich. This one looked a little lean. This one slightly, but this one more lean. That back one, for whatever reason, wasn't as bad as that one. Anyway, something to think about. But yeah, cool stuff. Hope you like the view of the floor. Makes a lot of power, good times. What am I doing in the Camaro? I have no idea, because here's the problem. You know what pumps in the Camaro? MagnaFuel ProStar 500, because I love that pump. Because Gary has had that dyno since 2003. He's had that pump since 2003. Has never changed that pump. Now, has he had stuff on that made more power? Because he even said, this is on me. Probably, he didn't say it was on him, but he's like, any of the engines that made more power, that were blower like this, they brought their own fuel setup. Because I can already hear some of you right now, why are you running carbs? Because I couldn't afford a fuel injection. I got a kid in college, and you know how many projects are here? And I have to say, companies are helping. Like Racetech was nice enough for the Pistons. Thank you for that. But it's not like people just give stuff to free because of the YouTube thing. So, yeah, I would absolutely love an injection hat and all that, especially if it would help me see better in the car. It's 10 grand for the whole setup. That's the pump and everything else. It's about 10 grand. It's not cheap. So, I don't know. That's the reason why I had the carbs. My only other thought is I'll just run 2 MagnaFuels. Because, yes, Aeromotive does make an electric pump. It's $1,800. But it would be cheaper just to buy another MagnaFuel ProStar 500 and have one of them feed just this carburetor, the other one feed just this one. In my mind, that should be enough fuel flow for both, for sure. I'll just have to have 2 different fuel setups for each one. Not a big deal. Because trust me, there was other tests I wanted to do. For instance, these are 4150s, but I have a different plate for it that goes underneath here for a dominator. And since these carburetors, as you could tell, see the bolt hole? It's slotted so you can run it on a dominator flange. I was going to run an adapter to see if maybe we get maybe 20 more horsepower running it that way on the low boost setting. So, but some of you might be like, well, how did it compare to last time? Because that's an interesting thought too. This is last time and now. So both this is on the lowest pulley setup. This 1233 was last time. This is now 1197. So yeah, we lost about 50 horsepower with the same boost level. 50 lost. You're like, oh my gosh, what you did, the head sucked. No, what probably did it, and the most likely thing for this, it's not the cam, it's not even the heads, it's the compression. So from 11.5 to a 10.8, probably had a bigger part in this. But I have way more tuning window now than I did then, obviously. I think that actually helped us now. So that was the change, just so you know. That's it. That's a little bit of difference. The cam also had a part to that too. But I can tell you, this current setup will run way higher in RPM, it feels like. In case you're wondering though, this is with the 9 pounds of boost, is the black line. That's the 6 pounds before. And if you look, they're pretty much together. They actually come together here when it gets, so if I'd gotten the air fuel ratio correct, it would have matched it. It would have been around the same power. That's still at 7,000. So it's okay. I only need to get the car to run a 4. I don't even need to get it there, just my goal. But anyway, that's what's going on with that. I probably will cut this video a little bit short and not show you the other stuff just because of time, because I think this video has already gone long. But the problem with the car is, and the truck, so this is the problem with racing. I was talking to the guy that's painting my son's car. Hopefully it'll be done by Thanksgiving. If you think engines are expensive, get a paint job. Anyway, the problem with this truck and my Camaro, which I love, both of them, right? They fit no classes. You can run, only thing you can do is bracket and index. And no offense to you bracket and index racers, because you're racing and beats just sitting in the garage, right? But I want to do heads-up racing. And one of my customers, Trent Denny, hope you don't mind me mentioning his name, but where they race, they have this, they break down the fastest cars in divisions of 10. And then those guys race in that division to try to go faster and try to beat each other. And I'm sure there's more to it. They used to have something like that here in Tulsa. I would love to have something like that back. Because the problem is all the classes are getting retarded fast and just plain out too expensive. We all know this. This is not a mystery. So like this truck run 10.0, which is about where the cage should be for it. I really do not feel safer going faster at 10.0 with it because it just doesn't have a cage, and I really don't want to add more cage because it's drive around, have a good time in the streets, run a 10.0, fine. Maybe if you want to, you can for fun do a 980 if you want to show off, but it's just for fun. Now the Camaro, it's got full tube chassis. It's nice, right? It's a big tire car, but all big tire classes seem like they're dead unless you're doing index racing. But most of them fit no classes. You pretty much have to run a 450 or 440 for most of the heads-up classes, unless they're like index, like a 530 Gangster, which is cool. I do like that idea, but still, it's like, I just want to mat it down all the way, every time, all the way. And if this runs a 10.0, great. But I don't want to go up against someone that's running like a, running 850s to my 10.0 thing, you know what I mean? So I like the idea of breaking it down that way, where you 10 faster cars, you're somewhat close, you're just competing against each other. But man, that's what's killing racing. Cost is, yes, cost has a lot to do with this. But I've got probably 75,000 in the Camaro, if not more. This probably has around 30. They fit no classes. I'd have to spend way more money to fit either of the classes. And I want to race. I want to actually go out and go heads to head next to someone. I want to. And I cannot be the only one that feels this way. I just can't. So I hate being a career testing tuner, but you got to get in where you fit in, and there's nowhere to fit in, it seems like, anymore. So you can put some comments down there for that. Anyway, real quickly, I'm going to show you this other stuff just to kind of wrap this thing up. And the shop is a disaster this week's been nuts. I'm just trying to get as much stuff out as possible. Remember the 383 that's over here? This is my just dyno mule. It's got the double hump heads. Well, a nice viewer, because several of you, and I mean several of you, asked, can you do Vortex heads on it? You should do Vortex versus it. Awesome news. One of my viewers from Team Tard, he sent in these 062 Vortex heads. They're stock. While I was at Dunsworth Machine, we were dynoing that, Adam, big thank you to Adam, he pulled out the studs and put in and machined them for screw-in studs. I still have to tear them down, do my own valve job and whatnot. Because I'm just going to valve job them and blend them just like I did with those. And I got to get a different intake because obviously this is a different bolt pattern. And we're going to dyno that, and we'll have the stock heads, Vortex heads on this 383 and see how it compares to these double humps. Similar modifications. We'll see what they do. That's kind of cool. Also, if you're Matt Lapiso, because you've been waiting forever for your heads to get ported, and not for lack of effort, buddy, they are done as far as the port work. Machine surfaced. I had to flow them, hopefully today. Hopefully they'll get assembled this weekend, and that job will be done. So thanks for your patience on that. I have a circle track guy, which I can't remember his name for nothing. But his heads are valve job too. They're sitting over here. All done. I have to flow those too. Ooh, this is neat. What's in the box? What's in the box? You know, my son haven't watched the movie 7. And of all the movies, I think well, not all, but I think he should watch that. What's in the box? I did get this. I only bought it because I have a bad feeling for next year. But what's in the box here, this is from Summit. Summit's awesome, like dealing with them, obviously. This is their Summit, brand new, because they just started doing this. Their new big block Chevy blocks. Because obviously, you know, I have the small block Chevy ones that are used for the small block Chevy Cam Challenge, but you're like, what are you doing with that? I don't know. Probably won't happen until after the beginning of the year, because there are things outside of my control that I can't control, and that's where we're at. So I know Kuntz has got working some bugs out in the dyno. The engine itself's ready. I have no idea. So that's, plus we're in the holidays, so I don't know. Don't think I'm not trying. It is what it is. But that'll be the last Cam Challenge I do as a small block Chevy. But I have that block. Also, while I was at Dunsworth, I dropped off the other Summit block that was machined by Kuntz for Dunsworth to put my 406 back together. So yay for that. Anyway, they're going to put that together, and they're going to start doing R&D. But this one, I bought it, like I said, because I'm a little scared. This is their brand new. It's a 9/8 deck, big block Chevy block. And the reason why I got it is because I know, if you don't know, the block, the main USA foundry that poured aftermarket blocks for us, for Dart and World, and probably some others, was a foundry called Dalton. Well, last week they filed for bankruptcy, and then they're closing all operations, which means this is a huge problem for us. Huge problem. That means there will be no blocks for Dart or World for a while, as they try to find someone. More likely going to do what Summit did. So the Summit, this is not cast in USA, it's cast in Germany. I don't have a problem with that at all. I don't have a problem with Germany at all. I was there. I love the place. But they might be the only show left anyway to get your block, unless you're getting a Chinese one. I don't want a Chinese one. So this is probably the last ones you can get for a while until Dart figures out what to do. And I bet you they end up doing the same thing, because Dart, as you know, is owned by a private equity group. There's no, and that's the thing, buy American, buy American. To my knowledge, there's not any other foundries in America that will pour blocks for people, for like individuals, besides GM and stuff. And I don't even think they have theirs poured here anymore. So there's just not. You can say American, there ain't founders ain't here, and there ain't millions of dollars out there to invest to do it. So point being is, get your block now, because good luck. But anyway, I bought that because I needed it, because eventually, and don't think this happened tomorrow for sure. I picked these up I traded Jamie my DN9s for these man-eaters is what they call them. Sounds kind of gay, I know. Anyway, I started working on those. I'm going to build a 582 with those in that block. And I'm just going to run on methanol, single carburetor deal, just something for fun, just to put in the Camaro, which is like, don't you have that for the Camaro? Yeah, I'm just going to switch engines. So if I want to run a 6.0 class, I'll probably put the 540 dyno mule in it just for fun. If I want to run faster, I'll put the 565 in it for like the little gangsters. Maybe I'll put on 10.5 tire on there. If I want to do 4s, I'll mess with this. What about the other engine? I don't know, whatever I want to. Just want to have some fun either way. Not to mention, don't forget Bishop's Nova's almost done. So we'll be switching engines in his car too. The next one will go on will be that one though, after he gets used to 350. Anyway, long story. Got your stuff. I hope this video didn't suck too bad for you. Please like and subscribe. Go to my channel. I forgot to tell you, I keep forgetting all kinds of stuff. These heads right here are on sale on my online store. There's only two pair. One's cheaper than the other because it looks a little weird. But these are marked down because they're not perfect. They're great and they'll work fine. They're just not perfect. So these are set up for a hydraulic roller, are $2,300, this pair. This one I'm letting go for $1,900. And don't forget, the used set, the 235s that I used for Bob's, are $2,100 assembled, just like they are. So those are still available. All that stuff will be online store. Pick up some of that. I'm also going ahead and do this. Stuck around this long, you're probably a real liker of my channel or whatnot, or pure hater, one of the two. I'm going to go ahead and start the Black Friday sale now. Usually I do this at Black Friday, but here's how it goes. Any head that I sell, and remember, I don't have them in stock. Majority of the heads I will not have in stock. Any of the heads I sell that you can order from Summit or anywhere else that I sell, you get them for $150 more than my cost. But there's some catches to it. So they're sold as is. If there's a problem, I'm going to get it directly from the manufacturer. If there's a problem, you're going to have to deal with the manufacturer, not me, because $150, I ain't done with that crap. You will get a flow sheet with every one of them, because I'm going to flow it just like I do every single one. If you want me to check them and stuff like that, I'll charge you extra for that, and then that's fine. But any head that they sell, Summit, so if you want a Pro Max, AFR, whatever, any head that they sell, Brodix, because I'm a Brodix dealer too, I'll give you $150 more than my cost from now until Christmas. But be aware, this is the huge part. Huge part. You can't cancel the order, one, so can't do that. Once you're in it, you're in it. But this is the big part. I don't have them in stock, so you have to be patient and wait for them to come in for me to ship them to you. Sometimes that wait's short, sometimes it waits long. It's really depending on the manufacturers. Depending on which one you get from Brodix, you're probably looking at 3 to 6 months, depending on which one. AFR, I don't know, because a lot of their castings are Chinese. Those can, depending on how the tariff thing works, because they're waiting to order until tariffs are low. That's just how it is. Maybe they'll have a different inventory coming in. I don't know. But regardless, there's always stuff going that way. Maybe 3 months. Maybe less, depending on which ones. If they're in stock at Summit or ATEC, maybe less. ProMax, I'm going to have to check on the price on those because they're dead to deal with tariffs too. So if you want more of those. But pretty much any of the heads, besides my CNC ported stuff, no, that ain't happening. And none of my Dragon Slayers, no. I might have you lucky to get $100 off, but yeah, I'll do that. Any one of my Dragon Slayers, besides the 4060 ones, because those are just too expensive, I do not. But any of the standard ones, I'll give you $100 off if you order between now and Christmas. So, but again, be prepared for wait. So typically the CNC Dragon Slayer is $100. I mean, take about 3 months to come in. But anyway, there's that. Just be patient. Just understand that. If you already bought and you're like, man, I like to have saved the $100. Sorry, man. Again, you're going to get your heads probably 3 to 4 months faster than they will. So, yeah. Anyway, that's all I got. Guys, remember, I am no Superman. I did race Superboy. I do not port cast iron heads. The best way to reach me is through email, winegunnerracing@gmail.com. I do not respond to Facebook or Instagram messages, not even my business one, because it's usually all garbage. Here's a picture of a motor. Can you tell me what head works best on it? I literally get those. So no, I don't do that. Sorry, I don't respond to those. Guys, take care.